And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Hello, everybody. Ralph in the building, and welcome to a special edition, a special episode of the Combat Club, because this is a special episode related to UFC 304, which is going to be this weekend at Manchester, which is going to be a huge event for all of the United Kingdom fans who love the mixed martial arts. And of course, we got a special guest right now. You might know as part of the Against the Fence, along with JK, Ash, because right now we got Sai in the building. So how's it going about it? Because we are ready to UFC 304 in Manchester, which is very incredible, very huge for all these UK fans who are very hungry about for the mixed martial arts.
Absolutely. We are hungry. We absolutely are. We're seeing running back what could possibly be, Ralph, could possibly be the best card that the UFC have put on in the UK. So the co-main, of course, Tom Aspinall up against his where he lost time for a leg break. It was Curtis Razorblades, and of course we got Leon Edwards versus Mohammed too. So that's all coming back as well. So yeah, we're super excited for it. We're super hungry for it. And can I just say real quick, your little intro, I was sitting here getting super excited watching that. That was nice. It was really good.
Yeah, I know, it was very good.
I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and first of all, we talk about for the UFC 304, which they have an amazing fight card, not only for the preliminaries, but also for the main card. So first and foremost, we just got for the lightweight, Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Now, this is going to be like a very interesting matchup because Pimblett has got a lot of heat since his fall for the decision over Jared Gordon. Now, he should have the first loss of the UFC, but I think it's going to be like a decent enough underrated prospect, which is going to be like a well-rounded game. But I don't think it's going to be like near the title, but he has good grappling, as I see the 2 wins by submissions. And Bobby Green, or what they call with the King Green, is going to be like the present, the stoutest talent so far, because Green is a veteran with slick boxing, good defensive grappling, despite for that age, is a very tough, gritty fighter that presents like a gatekeeper for the contenders of the lightweight decision. I mean, I think that Green has the advantage when it comes to boxing, but Paddy is bigger. I mean, as well as very out of the launch reach when it comes to make very when it comes to the jabs. I mean, this is like the toughest fight had to go for. Maybe it's gonna be like a take a neutral venue where I would pay like Green, because since Green is fighting on Pimblett's home turf, he might be good at like at the finish to get a win here, because I have the feeling it's gonna be like very close enough.
Yeah, it really could be. But also bearing in mind the fact that this is for Paddy his entrant into the ranked fighting parts of the division. You know, he hasn't been ranked, he hasn't got a number next to his name yet. And for a long time, people have been saying it's high time for him to get a number next to his name. The difficult thing is it's a really tall order in Bobby Green. You know, the style he's got, the speed, the precision, those 2 things alone are really going to give Paddy problems, I think. But also the fact that Green has his hands low. Through most of his competition, it's bad because his chin's up there, could get caught. And it's always a bit of a chance thing. But with his hands low, he can really catch those wrestling attempts from Paddy, and he can keep it contending on the feet, where ultimately he can look really good and subject Paddy to his speed. And that's probably not going to be the best thing for Paddy, I think. So, yeah, I feel like the style of this bodes well for Green. On paper, the style looks good for Green. But if Paddy can catch his chin, then he could really be rocking the world of a lot of UK fans on the night.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Because I really know that this could be like a very interesting, because I would love to say about it. I mean, I don't think it's getting anywhere near the title, but he has a very good grappling. I mean, we saw for the display against Tony Ferguson. I mean, he really took them all. And I really guess that usually they have to go for like, they also have the favorites, but also they have to be the underdog. But everyone is going to be like really expected, because if we're going to see like a very important, I mean, that has the very potential when it comes to the talent, and of course the grappling, boxing, also wrestling. Also, we just had like the striking. I mean, it's very important. I mean, between for Paddy, I mean, Paddy became like one of the greatest ones, but it comes to like at his hometown. But I
Yeah.
think that Pimblet has like a great skill, but I don't think it's gonna be like facing enough for a very tough talent. I mean, everybody has got a hardest division of the sports. I mean, it's very like not only he just made guys to the stand up and bots, but I really think it is very seen that like the perfect opponent the game like it taken down, and it's not gonna be like a boring fight. But I really think between for the Paddy Pimblet, I mean, it's something that would cause for like the perfect opponent because I know when it comes to the performances, I mean, there has to call like worse minus, but I don't think it's gonna be like a really worse at all. But it all depends for like a good matchup. I believe like the grades and the striking, but I think it's gonna be like a they might be has a problem, but he was wrestling school. I mean, that has
Yeah.
will have to work for the takedowns.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Um, but once that's going to be fundamental for him though is to secure those takedowns. I think.
Yep, exactly. All right, so let's move it on for another fight, and everyone they want to talk about it because this is gonna be so interesting. So this is gonna be Muhammad Mukabe versus Manel Cape. I know this seems like they just introduced on about from the new ground and knee streaks because they will now apply until October. So maybe like Muhammad Mukabe last chance to like getting known for that rule, but now he's really look unimpressed about for the loose fights. I mean, it's like the archetype of the light and wrestler who hugs down the opponent through the fight by the submission or decision. But Manek Kape, it just became like it's kind of like very crazy, but he has a very potential to be like the number one contender, which I probably would have be not pull it out for the previous fight. But they really need like a knockout is here fighting for the home turf. And I think that the judges might favor the lightest control time over damage, but I think it's gonna be like really the toughest one at faces so far. But I think it's gonna be very competitive, goes for the judges. But I think that Mokabe is very capable taking down Capi and get enough very controlled time when it comes to this favor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's been some changes to the card now, and this is no longer on the main card, which makes me wonder why. Why did the UFC take this and not and take it off of the main card? Maybe to make way for CLD versus Rodriguez, Gregory Rodriguez, because that's a bit of a bang, and it might see some knockout there. I don't think between Makayev and Karp we'll see a knockout. I think that fight might go to a full decision and go to the full distance. So sometimes the UFC, what they'll tend to do is mix some of the fight orders up so they can get some bangers on different areas of the card, and this one's almost guaranteed to be a knockout. I think that second one on the card now, which is CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez. That one would certainly be a knockout. But yeah, with Makayev and Karp, I see that going the distance most likely, but Makayev will be initiating a lot of the wrestling takedowns and it's almost Sambo style. He will be taking a fight there almost on every opportunity he's got, and he'll probably most likely be relentless with it.
I think it's right. But I know that Mokabe, it became like a somewhat of display, but I think it's going to be like very mythical. But I really understand because they cannot deny about for the skill style. I mean, now it's going to be like a very premiere for this one because I know there is something that I was came like very special, but I think there's gonna be like a fight some random instead. But I think this is gonna be like a this one's a like title eliminated fight with two well-known fighters and a UK local to boot. I mean, putting out to the way for like early Premier have moving down for the Premier only. That was like it's not that really suspicious. But I think because just open week before the help, I mean, there's like the missing weights, but I know there's gonna be like a rushing off of the time, but I think it's gonna be like one of the most anticipated fights. But everyone could take a like a decipher everything. I mean, between for a prospect fighting at home and betting down, I mean, that's gonna be interesting for how about that.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. He's gonna have the home support for sure, Makayev, and that's gonna be immense for him. We've seen him perform in the UK before, and he's just been so good on countless occasions. So I do think that's probably going to be quite powerful for him going into the night as well.
Yep, exactly. Also, we move it on to another fight, which is totally amazing because I just love to wait and watch it right now. So it's gonna be for heavyweight, Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades, because we know that United Kingdom has three champions between Leon Edwards. Also, they just got Michael Bisping, Tom Aspinall. But for me, it's just like a truly gifted fighter in the heavyweight division. I mean, he combines like the power and skill and finish about for the opponents and by knockout or submission on the first two rounds of the UFC. Only out for the three losers, only one is a true loss by heel hook, and he was like disqualified for illegal elbow. Now, Curtis Blades is an excellent wrestler with powerful hands, and he show up like he's shutting down Jailton Almeida takedown, saying, boom, they just knocked out for the hammer fist. And right now he's defending against her takedown. I mean, he's been knocked out before by Derek Lewis, Sergey Pavlovich, Francis Nagdu. I mean, definitely has a weakness of which Aspinall can exploit in that area. So I'm going to say it about for Aspinall for a knockout because he has definitely had the power to knock Blaze. And I don't think it's going to be very smart enough fighter to keep that fight instead of bringing the fight to the ground. I mean, as long as Aspinall can do like a striking contest, it should be not the problem. I mean, finding the chin above for the Blades and secure the first title, I mean, that's not going to be unfair to keep it out for an interim champion. Because remember when John Jones became like one of the champions of the lightweight, the heavyweight, I mean, when it comes to Thomas Pinot for interim, I mean, I will say this. The Metro Victoria is going to be like a really knockout. I mean, he might be one of the most well-rounded heavyweight champion they ever have in the history of UFC.
Yeah, no, that's right. You know, he's got that wrestling threat in a heavyweight division, which we have rarely seen. We've got Almeida now coming through with that, and we also have the likes of Curtis Razor Blades, who's always been really good with that too. But I've always liked to define Tom Aspinall and these wrestling style heavyweighters as the new evolution of the heavyweight division. Because if you go back a matter of years, it was just about having heavy hands and banging. But now it's just not good enough. If that's all you've got, then it's not good enough. We're seeing a different dynamic here now in the heavyweight division where we're able to see the wrestling take precedent, Brazilian jiu-jitsu to submissions happening at this weight class as well now. It's not just all about banging, and it's not all just about the hands. So yeah, it's really exciting, and I'm really proud of Tom Aspinall, doing a Brit who's been able to really revolutionize the division. He's coming in here doing the most, but also that performance against Pavlovich, it gave me so much love for the guy. Like honestly, I admired how he came in. He wasn't too afraid of the person who was basically dropping people at a touch of his hand. He was very scary, but Tom Aspinall found the courage and actually got the win via knockout because of his great ability on the feet to move like a light heavyweight at heavyweight. Again, new evolution of fighter. It's super impressive. There's only one area of Tom Aspinall's game which it does worry me a little bit. I'm not entirely sure about, and that's got to be his cardio. How long can he go? You know, how far can he go? Could we, if this fight does drag out through the wrestling exchanges into a third, fourth, potentially fifth round, is it going to still be the same Tom Aspinall we all know and love? I don't quite know the answer to that yet. But, you know, I trust that his fighter IQ can probably stop the fight from going such a distance.
Yep. And I understand that for Tom Aspinall, I mean, he became like most talented guy and most successful fighter, and he was just like a game changer because after we just saw Michael Bisping, after Leon Edwards, and right now there's Tom Aspinall. I mean, he's like a great, fantastic fighter. I mean, he has a great fight IQ and fast for a heavyweight, which is most of the people didn't know about that, but we're really shocked. I mean, this is like because I was learning about for these opportunities, and I was like a former Karate Do champion because for that time, I mean, Tom Aspinall, they know about for like the essential, like the simple one, but also it became like the greatest one. Also, it just keeping off of the forward knee, but it doesn't really break the knee, but kicking off for throwing it straight. I mean, Aspinall is very sneaky, but if it comes to back leg, I mean, he has a very straight out the ag with the other leg. I mean, never seen at anyone, and that's like a risky maneuver. It's gonna put himself for that range. I mean, that's gonna be like his combo, and this combination, I mean, he just ended Sergey fight. He knows Sergey likes a strong party, but he also instead like a 1, 2, 3 to the face. He throws jab to jab to jab to the face. I mean, Sergio still tries to bring it down, but you're just opening for the right cross. But
Mm.
everybody knows that it'll be very kick. Whatever it comes to the imagine about this, I mean, they're apparently not the right ankles or specifically. I mean, crazy to see like a heavyweight borrowed technique from a featherweight kickboxer, Jugi Josta. I mean, it's very sharp in this style, these skills.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you said it very well there. And I don't know if I can add any much more to it, but it's he's effectively a problem.
Yep, exactly. Also, we just got the main event for the 304, which is Manchester. So right now we got the champion versus the contender for welterweight, Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Now, he's a reigning welterweight champion because we know that he just won against Kobe Convention just like a few months ago when it comes to the end of December. But I know he's a well-rounded fighter with precise striking, solid grappling defense. Now it's gonna be like a very difficult 5 round format suits, but that style it fits very well. I mean, he's very great to winning fighting by points, and he's now experiment to the former dude to do fights against Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, but they had to be careful about Bilal Muhammad. He's a relentless pressure fighter. He loves pressure for all of those fighters. Makes him like a formidable challenger, but I think it's gonna be like the worst matchup for him because in the first fight, Edwards were winning handily against with Bello, finding like a takedown before the fight was permanently stopped to eye poke. I mean, that I believe is gonna be like the second best welterweight that we have behind George St. Pierre. And I would be shocked if Bello could somehow pull this off. And I didn't see for the first fight because in that case had a very fight to victory over Edwards over the 5 rounds. Since Edwards has home court advantage so well, it truly stacks the odds against Bello. So I'm gonna be like expecting for a winning against for the Bishop, but his ability to push the face and the mid striking with takedowns, I mean, that gonna be very impossible to see how the skills is gonna be so fit in about for two fighters like Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad.
I love how you work, bro. I love how your mind works. I love how you think because you're right. If you think about it, you got someone that first fight when they first matched up. I would say Leon Edwards did look problemsome to a point that the eye poke against Bilal Muhammad, it might have just been the kind of perfect out for him because it could have been if that fight continued and the eye poke didn't happen. I do think if it continued the way it was going, Leon Edwards would probably come out the victor in that. But these things happen, and you got to readjust, and you got to come back to it. And I feel like Bilal Muhammad is going to bring a different game this time around. He's going to be a bit more of a different problem. He would have really assessed what went wrong in that first round of the last fight. And it does worry me about Edwards, who could probably step into this thinking, "Oh, I've got his number already. I know how good I was. I know how good I can be." You know what I mean? At the same time, too, you're right. Yeah, Muhammad is a pressure fighter, and he can turn that up on Edwards throughout the round. But we've seen someone like Edwards deny takedown after takedown from some of the best wrestlers in the division already. And that's the confidence we need to know that he can have what it takes to stand up against the likes of Bilal Muhammad. His takedown defense should be on point, and he should reset the fight to where he needs it to be taking place. And that's going to be in that mid-range center octagon.
I like that. I like that. But also, I just really thought because right now it seems that between for the fight and between for Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad, I mean, Bilal has the very round skill, but I had to be careful because I just see for like in some fights, but I will say because right now, if you're gonna tell for the jab right now, I mean, it's gonna be like something interesting about for the skills. I mean, he just like well-rounded for like 30 seconds, but he also had to wrap the bell because it goes through and off, but it seems that they have to defend for the bell for like the next 5 years. But it seems that they have so many skills that nobody see that coming around.
Yeah.
But before about that, because was pretty important to offer for Leon Edwards for like before that for the UFC 303. But I think for the fighting for the welterweight, it couldnly making very sense, but it still had a very good shot. I mean, they might like to pull the trigger, but it seems that I had to go for attention, but because he easily has the best resume at welterweight right now, but nobody else that had deserved the shot more than the guy. But Zabali is getting like before them. But imagine being like at a world class in the most dangerous competitive sports. But he's just like a true sportman in the entertainment industry. I mean, he struggled, it became like the dignity. I mean, he's on a winning streak, even fighting down, he didn't go to. I mean, at this point, that I mean, it seems like they had to don't have to do the precision regardless for skill. I mean, there's like the reasons they still have the below it. I mean, they just want to be like the most disturbing fighter to get a title shot. I mean, that was like a very decision against for Burns. I mean, he didn't finish Burns how to save play it. I mean, it was like the guy who early earned the title shot, but they just wanted to steal about how did it go for like the competition against really, really bad. But I would just say it's not gonna be complicated, but he much deserved for the title shot, but this is not gonna be wrong. But they have to be careful about for the skills, about for around it, which is grappling, striking, all quotes for the submissions. I mean, they might have to go for the history books because they have for the rankings, but I really think that this is not gonna be really complicated, but they have the time for delay for the title shot for a few years. Because if it's gonna be like more likely scenario, I would love to see that.
Yeah, yeah. And I got a question for you, real quickly, about the co-main and the main event. Now, both of these fights have been run back because they finished in like a bit of an unnoteworthy manner the first time around. So, what one are you more excited to see? The co-main again, or the main event?
Well, I would love to interesting about for like the co-main event because I love to see like the co-main event because the impact because right now because this is like the Manchester City. I mean, they just have like great decisions, great striking. But I think the co-main event totally is gonna be like stealing the tension. But between for the main event, between Bilal Muhammad fighting skills, I mean, it really has to make anything sense. But I would love to see like between for the co-main event, which is are really interesting about it, between for Curtis Blaze versus Thomas Minol. It should be like a good way around it about for striking and they have to be careful. It's someone has to go to knockdown or submissions. It's gonna be like a great skill, but also they have to do great to portray great entertainment.
Yeah, true. And talking about the main event itself with Bilal Muhammad, you know, you touched on it earlier. The fact that this guy has been waiting for so long for such an opportunity. You mentioned, of course, UFC 300. He was denied an opportunity to fight on that, which probably could have been an obvious opportunity for him to step in there somewhere. But yeah, look, the fact of the matter is, I myself have never really sided with Bilal Muhammad before. And he's just constantly gone on to prove me wrong, fight after fight after fight. So I do wonder, when am I actually going to start getting behind this guy and saying, yeah, he's probably going to be one of the best to actually do it. His win streak at the moment is phenomenal, and he keeps proving me wrong time and time again. And this is quite a special fight for me because I think last time I also picked I did go with Leon Edwards in his last fight, but you know, when it was against Usman, I went Usman. So both these guys have a habit of proving me wrong. So this time I'm not sure how I'm going to pick it on the night. I do think I've got to stick with my own. So the Brit, flying even the Jamaican flag as well, Leon Edwards. So I got to be doing that. But ultimately, I just hate the fact that Bilal Muhammad has another opportunity to go out there and potentially prove me wrong. It's not an easy one to pick. I do think he's got a good chance in this one, but I do hope that Leon Edwards brings it home.
Exactly. And of course, we got the last topic. So right now we're just getting in the middle of the year, which is 2024, and we just saw like a lot of impact fighters at the UFC at the octagon make it as a breakthrough, but also we just see like at this prime right now. Because I just wanted to tell you about who got at the middle of the year 2024, who was like the very impact UFC fighter during for the mid of 2024. Because I just got Kasama Chimaev. Because Kasama Chimaev, it became like one of the greatest ones. I mean, he just wanted to fight very easy at all. But I just wanted to, because he's very known to beat up everyone. He wears pads in the gym and will smash the people. But I really think that it's going to be like one of the most impact fighters at the UFC during from the mid 2024. But I see, because right now it's not gonna be a disappointment, but I mean it's not a waste talent, but he also has a great skill that it comes to it. I mean, the skills are very rounded. I mean, for the
Yeah.
wrestling skills, I mean, what he was doing about it, because that is crazy strong. I mean, he's gonna be very balanced, because if you have like different skill, just like Khabib versus Trujillo, I mean, that would finna have to go for a skill from the wrist. But during for the 2024, I mean, this is like at a ground mount for like also for Barry Nigeria right now. But I would say the very impact player, the impact fire. I mean, this is like a very good sample of striking for skill of those rights. Even though there are straight punches, was every very look straight, but there are punches. I mean, for striking, I mean, there's like more technically knowledgeable. I mean, when it comes to like between Shotokan, which is in character, I mean, they will give it like very story. But between for Kazuma Giame, I became one of the most impact fighters that became from the mid of 2004.
Wow, it's a good question. What's one of the most impact fighters that came this year? And I've been thinking about that actually for the last couple of minutes. And impacts can come in different ways. For me, I was
Mhm.
impacted myself by Dustin Poirier, the way that
Oh,
he was able to, um, when he fought BSD, for example, Benoit Saint Denis, he was a legend fighter who's fought from times of old. He really comes from a lot of those hardcore fans' childhoods, mine in particular. And he was able to stand up to the next evolution of fighter, which was BSD. He was the new fresh meat coming through, stopping everyone, and was all not too sure how he was going to do it. But do you know what? It's classic Philly. It's classic kind of like style of Poirier, right? He rolls tucks his shorts up, and he goes to work, and he did it so well, and that impacted me quite a bit. Just seeing how someone from that era can really still stand strong in this one. But I think for this year, to be more particular, the problem with Poirier is I don't see much of him, and I have to say it's got to be. I'm not can't believe I'm saying this. Pereira, for the fact this
oh,
guy, yeah, he's got a great story. Where he's coming from. If you look at the very origins of his entrance to the UFC, some guy, Israel Adesanya, was doing the most. A guy that they fought way back when, and Pereira thought, if this guy who I beat can do this, I can do this too. So his story comes from someone who was doing the most elsewhere, and he thought, okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to believe in myself here in this arena too. Not only does he rise to the top of his division at incredible pace, he's just got his eyes set on one goal and he goes after it and he achieves it. He does. He does knock out Israel Adesanya. Of course, Israel does get his own back and he does find that finish later on as well when they do next time meet. But I guess the cool thing about that is then he goes into another division and he does it there too. And how can that not be impactful? Just from the origins, that story, and the fact that he's still going strong. So yeah, I think the impactful fight of the year, just for MMA fans and globally, would be
mm,
uh, Pereira. Oh, and there's another point to mention on that one as well is, how do you know a fight has been an impact on other fight fans? When they have sayings like Sharma. A year ago, no one was saying that. Now everyone's saying Sharma, Sharma, Sharma. Everyone's doing the arrow, bah, everyone's running,
oh yeah.
and that for me shows that he's a great impact on fans. He's made a big impact on fans. So that's what I have to say is Alexander. It's Alex Pereira, mainly because what he's done in the octagon, but also the ripple effect he's had with fans outside of it too.
I mean, I understand. I agree with that, because right now Alex Pereira became like one of the most popular UFC fighters around for this generation. I mean, large, imposing, incredible, capable striker, and he's back over his wins. I mean, they also had the gift of the R, which is like a left hook. I mean, after we just saw for between Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka, I mean, that dude was really amazing. And I know that some Brazilian fighters they became very knowledgeable about for the jiu-jitsu, capoeira, but I really understand why some of the Brazilians have the great talent, because they had great impact, and they don't know for like their master. They master for everything for above for the levels. I mean, they master for everything could happen on the striking, the grappling, but also they just know about for like jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, capoeira. But during for that time, during for that time, he became like a breakout fighter because 2 years ago, he became like one of the breakthrough fighters around for the other media. But during for the 2024, they became like some realistic fighters that no one see that coming. Because during for 2024 with two events, because first he knocked out Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight championship, and then for Jimmy Prochazka, which is a technical knockout for head kick and punches at UFC 303. He became part of the sense of the century, a piece of generation that no one see that coming. And he defended 2 times, one for the light heavyweight championship. It might be it's gonna be like really dangerous, but I know that Alex Pereira became like so very important because it's gonna be so interesting. But he's gonna be like the clear list, the consistent, and also he has a great mentality to know about for the opponents.
Yeah. 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 100%. His mentality is just been crisp, so poised, so focused, so fixated on that one goal, and he's just gone after it relentlessly. But yeah, that's why I had to put him down as one of the best to impact.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I just wanted to tell you, thanks for joining us at this special edition of the Combat Club, reviewing about for the UFC 304, and of course, the most impact fighter of the UFC during from the mid of the year. So, sorry for against the fans. So, thanks for having us in the special episode. So, where can we find you on the social media that the people can find your content? Because I know this weekend is going to be very huge at Manchester with two amazing fights, including for the main card, which is like a great series of awesomeness.
It is. It honestly is. Absolute sheer awesomeness. We're quite excited for this main card. And as I said earlier, the front end of the episode is probably one of the best ones the UFC has put on in the UK to date. And it's going to be headlined by Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards, but also in the co-main, Tom Aspinall and, of course, Curtis Razorblades. So these guys are meeting again for the second time and such a big platform. And we're going to be there too. This week, from tomorrow, in fact, we're going to be up in Manchester. We're going to be giving full coverage of, well, more so Q&As, interviews with UFC fighters, meeting with the fans on the ground as well, and going to the meet and greets with the fan or the signing with the fighters as well. So we'll be documenting, creating some content. If you head over to our YouTube channel, Against the Fence ATF, so if you go to and type in Against the Fence, you will find us there, and you can keep up to date with all of the content that comes out. And that's going to be this week into next week. And we'll also give you a little bit of an insight on the weigh-in shows while we'll be there with the weigh-ins too. And then, of course, on the night itself, when it comes to the fight night on Saturday, we'll be doing the full watch along, giving you guys the action, the fun. We should never watch alone, and you should always watch along when it comes to these things, because over in the UK, it's on a ridiculous times of the night, almost 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's kind of unsociable. But that's why you have us, the channel to tune into and watch it in community. But it's a blast, absolute blast. You know, Raf, you've been there, you've seen it all as well.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward for this weekend, and I want to say thanks for having me on, Raf. Captain, you've been a stellar host, and I felt real comfortable. So this was brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, hit the like button, subscribe to Capitán Rafucho on his way to 2K subscribers, and of course, ring the bell for notifications. So it's been a special episode of the Combat Club, which is our weekly MMA podcast. We're talking about for MMA to boxing and all these stuff like that. So thank you very much. Have a great night. And of course, I just wanted to tell her about this. So let's get ready to rumble, because right now the Combat Club is going out to all right now. So thank you very much. And of course, we will see you there at the next week coming up for the UFC 304. So thank you very much. So have a good one, folks.
Yes.